Welcome to Movies with MacLean. I'm Andrew MacLean, and this is the weekly show where we talk all things movies, including the latest in movie news. With me today is Grant Hoffman.
Hey Andrew, good to be back.
Glad to have you here. Today we're talking War for the Planet of the Apes. We have a spoiler-free review, then we'll talk spoilers after that, and we'll have a spoiler warning on the screen when we discuss spoilers. But before we get into that, we are going to discuss the movie news. And the first news story of the week is a trailer for Darkest Hour, which is a new Winston Churchill biopic starring Gary Oldman. So, what do you think of this trailer, and what do you think of Gary Oldman's portrayal of Churchill?
I think it's either going to be Gary Oldman gets nominated for Best Actor Oscar, or it's going to be kind of funny to watch.
Yeah.
I don't really think it's going to end up being an okay movie. I think it's going to be either bad or very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it looks pretty good. I've never really seen the story. I don't think it's been like rehashed or anything. I don't think anybody's ever made a Churchill
Not that I
biopic,
know
have
of.
they? Maybe in Britain, probably.
Yeah.
Probably not here. But Gary Oldman's definitely a good candidate for. As long as the makeup looks okay throughout the entire movie, then yeah, it should be pretty good.
And he has been sort of a chameleon. If you look at like JFK, he looks completely different than he does in something like, Batman, and Harry Potter. He looks completely different in that too. So obviously it's an impressive transformation from what we've seen so far. I looked up the director, and I didn't see any really good movies that he made, so I think we might have to rely on Gary Oldman. But it is a story that I'm definitely interested in, to see like England in those war times and how he led them through that, sort of a different perspective of like the King's Speech. So I'm definitely interested in this, and I'll have to see how well it does when that does come out. We had a lot of big news at D23, which is Disney's big convention, that was this past weekend. So day one was full of animation news. They showed a lot of footage to the people there, some from Ralph Wrecks the Internet, which is the new Wreck-It Ralph movie. I think that's the right name. The Incredibles 2, they showed like Jack, the baby from The Incredibles, showed off some of his powers, and we know that Samuel L. Jackson is going to be back along with the rest of the cast. There's Untitled Pixar movie announced. It's like a suburban fantasy with elves and trolls, and apparently there's like unicorns that are like raccoons in the neighborhood or something like that.
That sounds like I probably won't see it in theaters, but it'll probably get good reviews just because it's Pixar.
Mm-hmm. And then they had like I think some small footage from a new Cars type of movie, but with spaceships or something. So like
Great.
Spaceships with eyes.
You also needed that.
Yeah. So of all that, what stands out to you? What are you looking forward to out of all that?
Probably the Wreck-It Ralph, because Wreck-It Ralph wasn't a bad movie. It's pretty good. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I have not.
It's not a bad movie by any means, and I like John C. Reilly. But honestly, like, none of that is really very exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they'll do a very good job with all the movies, and they probably won't be bad. Just, I don't know. I don't need a spaceship Cars movie.
Yeah, I don't either. For me, it's probably Incredibles 2. It opens next year, so it's not that far away. And yeah, I'm just interested to see more stories with those characters. To hear that they're expanding with Jack, and they're going to discover what his powers are. I think there's a lot of stories you can tell there, so that's definitely what excites me the most. And I think it's interesting that they're playing with like the internet with Wreck-It Ralph, and it sort of sounded like they were poking fun at themselves, Disney was, with like including like C-3PO and Disney Princess mashup in the footage they showed, so that could be funny, I guess. But day two was the big day for all the live-action movies. That includes Star Wars, Marvel, and all of Disney's other live-action properties. So they showed everyone the Star Wars The Last Jedi behind-the-scenes footage. And then the people who were at D23 got to see a trailer for Avengers Infinity War, which showed Thanos using the Infinity Gauntlet and all the Avengers and Guardians teaming up against Thanos. And then there was also some Lion King early footage shown, live action Lion King. And we got the announcement that Will Smith is playing the genie in Aladdin. So, what stood out of all that to you?
The Infinity Wars trailer, 'cause that's probably one of the movies I'm most excited for coming in early 2018.
I think it's May.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I really can't wait to see that movie. It's been building up for such a long time. So, I mean, I would love to get a trailer here soon, which I bet we do if they're starting to release it at D23.
Well, Comic-Con starts tomorrow.
Yeah,
So.
we'll probably get one by the end of the week, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm really excited for that. Obviously, Star Wars, can't wait. I think this one's gonna be great. So.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the general consensus was that Star Wars was good, but it was overshadowed by the stuff that they showed there. Like, for the people who were there, like, Infinity War and Lion King were better. And I get that, like, they didn't really show a lot with Last Jedi. What we did see was, like, Rey fighting 3 different guys at the same time, so maybe there's, like, the Knights of Ren are getting involved, and they're all fighting her. And then we saw her actually handing the lightsaber to Luke, so that's just something that we expected to see, but is confirmed now. And a lot of cool costumes and creatures. You know, I don't need to see a whole lot for The Last Jedi, so I'm kind of glad that we're not seeing a whole lot. I kind of just want to see the movie when it comes out, unlike The Force Awakens, where it was an experience because Star Wars was back and we were getting all that stuff. So I'm happy that they're not showing too much. I do hope that we, as the general public, get to see that Infinity War stuff sometime soon, not just the people who were there, because I definitely want to see some action of Thor teaming up with Rocket Raccoon and Spider-Man fighting Thanos. I want to see all that.
Yeah. Are you thinking that they're going to try to set any of that up in like a post-credit scenes or something like that for Thor Ragnarok?
In Thor, probably, because they haven't.
I imagine like if they're going to random places in the universe, that they'll probably try to tease it somehow, or he'll learn about him.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect movie to tie that in too.
Yeah.
So hopefully, and then Will Smith as the genie, I don't like that at all. But really, I wouldn't have liked anyone as the genie because Robin Williams is the genie, and no one's gonna be better.
Yeah,
so,
I feel like Will Smith, like he can be a different genie, like that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like people really like the Robin Williams genie, and I don't imagine that he could come, like, he'd be different no matter what. That's what I'm saying. Like, even if he tried to emulate it, it wouldn't work with him as the genie.
Yeah, well, and that's like the most, for me at least, that's the most memorable Disney animated character in any Disney movie. So, I don't know why they feel the need to, well, I guess I know why his money is the need to remake all these live action, but I don't know, that's not one that I need to see.
Yeah.
I'll see The Lion King.
I think
that'll be awesome. But
I think Jon Favreau will.
he's not making Aladdin. I think Guy Ritchie's making Aladdin.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
he's making Lion King.
Yeah, Lion King.
Alright, well, that's all we have. Oh, no, that's not all we have in the news. We have a new trailer for Blade Runner 2049. So, Grant, I know you love this trailer. I love it as well, but I'll let you start us off talking about this new trailer.
It showcases how great the cinematography in the movie is going to be. I think it looks visually incredible. All the sets look awesome. The characters look great. This one definitely revealed a lot more about the plot, which I'm not necessarily mad about, but I really want to go in pretty cold to the movie just to experience all of it. And everybody is returning. Ridley Scott's returning, and so is Harrison Ford, and the directors, and again, Denis Villeneuve is
something like that.
Yeah, great director from both of Prisoners and Arrival. I love both those movies. It looks like it's going to be definitely a like dark, gritty, kind of noir kind of feel to it, just like the original. It looks great. I didn't know Robin Wright was in it, I figured that out in the trailer. Jared Leto, I don't know how much I like Jared Leto, but his character definitely seems unique.
I mean,
the
I think
movie.
he is a good choice for that character,
Yeah,
because he can play sort of like Roy Batty, like how Rutger Hauer did in the original.
Yeah.
Because he is so weird.
Like the plot seems kind of confusing to me because it sounds like he can't, like Jared Leto can't keep making replicants because Harrison Ford has something.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I got from it, but either way, it was a very good trailer.
Yeah, I definitely like this trailer. We see like the opening where Dave Bautista is the replicant.
Oh,
that
yeah.
I like that we see that Ryan Gosling maybe doesn't want to retire replicants if he doesn't have to, because he says like, I prefer to just bring you in, and then Bautista sort of slams him through the wall. But we see that he's sort of like Deckard toward the end, where he sympathizes a little bit with them. And we're gonna find out what happened to Deckard at the end of Blade Runner, because he says like, I was hunted, so we're gonna find something about
He's
that.
clearly alone, so I mean that's so weird to me, because how is he alive? But
well, you see in the trailer we saw like Nexus 8, and the highest replicant in the original was Nexus 6, so he was probably like a Nexus 7 or something that we just didn't know about. That didn't have a shortened lifespan. But that's also interesting that we saw like in the case in Nexus 8, because we're probably going to see like even more enhanced replicants in this one.
See, like, but with the lifetime, again, they're still making up memories, because the one that's born as a full-size person.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely still have a shorter lifespan than all people. I think they're born as adults.
Yeah,
but
probably.
they're aging more, because like Dave Bautista looks old, and so does Harrison Ford.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for Blade Runner 2049. It's one of my most anticipated movies of the year. But we're gonna now move into our review of War for the Planet of the Apes. So if you haven't seen the movie, stick around. We're not gonna spoil you yet, and we will warn you when we do get into spoilers. So the first thing I want to ask you, Grant, is, was War for the Planet of the Apes a satisfying conclusion to the trilogy?
I think so. The movie does have its flaws, but overall I definitely enjoyed it, and the ending I liked, even with, it was good. Yeah, it was a fitting end, I think. Doesn't set up any sequels or anything, it concludes well.
Yeah, and I think it sort of leads into where you see how it could reach, like, where the original Planet of the Apes movie was.
Yeah.
So I liked it a lot. I think that while it wasn't great for me, it wasn't as good as Dawn. I still think that the story makes sense for these characters, for where they go from, or it's a good arc for Caesar from Rise to Dawn to War.
Yeah.
You understand his character progression and the way that he's treated by humans, and how that ultimately affects him psychologically. So I will say it's a satisfying conclusion. Who would enjoy this movie? Do you think that you have to see the others, and what kind of movie viewer would you recommend?
You do have to see the others, because this movie is literally about Caesar more than it's really about the apes. So and that's how it's been for the first two movies also. So yeah, you gotta see it, because you need to know Caesar as a character, and like how he's progressed in the first two.
Mm-hmm.
Like why he has a soft spot for humans, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I agree. You have to see them, but they do have that little like crawl text at the beginning, like in case it's been a while, like it's okay, because they have like a quick summary.
Obviously that doesn't make up for the first two movies, but yeah, I agree. They do have like a recap.
Mm-hmm. And I'd say that if you're a fan of action, there's some pretty action-heavy scenes, but what do you think of the pacing of the movie? Because it sort of slows down for a little bit in the middle. What do you think of the overall pacing?
I thought the pace... I definitely loved the start of the movie. I definitely thought that was great. I thought it slowed down a little much for my taste. through the beginning to the end. Definitely, I didn't expect it to drag much. I was expecting a faster pace. I wasn't necessarily mad at the slower pace that I got from the movie, but it was different from what I was expecting. So I don't know if that was for better or for worse necessarily.
But yeah, I agree. It's hard to get into the details without spoiling.
Yeah.
But yeah, like about an hour in, there's a new like setting, and they sort of stay there for a while, and that's all we can really say in the spoiler-free part. But is it right now one of the best movies of the summer? Would you recommend people go see this in theaters?
Yeah. It definitely won't be the best movie of the summer, because I enjoyed Spider-Man: Homecoming much more, and I think Dunkirk will definitely be better.
Mm-hmm. I like Baby Driver better too.
I haven't gotten to see it yet.
Okay.
So I really want to though. Yeah. So I definitely think there are 2, possibly 3 better movies than this one, but it's definitely a good summer movie to see, especially like this is kind of like in the middle of it, like it has its own spot. That's not really competing with anything else yet, so it's a good standout for like the time it came out.
Yeah, and right now I'd say it's my 3rd favorite of the summer, but I wouldn't say that you have to see it in theaters. If you want to wait till it's on like Blu-ray or home video to watch it, that's fine too. Because it's not like there's anything that you really need to see in theaters. Like there's no insane action sequences that you haven't seen before. Like there's big explosions.
The last movie you needed to see in theaters was Mad Max. Like I don't know.
Yeah, well, Civil War. Yeah, you need to see Civil War in theaters.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree.
But I mean, there's big explosions, but there's nothing crazy, I'd say.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our non-spoiler thoughts. We are gonna get into the spoilers now, so we'll throw that spoiler warning on the screen right now. So get out of here if you haven't seen it yet. Go see it and come back. So what were some of your favorite moments, now that we can talk spoilers, in War for the Planet of the Apes?
The starting fight scene, absolutely. Where it really looks like the humans have the upper hand in the war for a little bit. Like, that's kind of what reminded me. And then I was wondering, like, how desperate they were. And then the apes just dominated
when those
people.
Spears were coming over, that was
awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. It was definitely very cool. Other favorite scene, I would say the Caesar blowing up everything in the military compound. Caesar talking to the colonel, and definitely the colonel's end was also a very cool scene. I think those are probably my 3 favorites. That, and I forget, do they even give the bad ape guy a name?
He's just Bad Ape, I think.
Yeah, Bad Ape. I like him. I thought he was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, in that opening sequence, that is like some of the actual best war sequences in the movie, where it's actually like sort of war between apes and humans. But I don't think that it was really, I mean, it kind of drives the movie, but it's also kind of a letdown that Caesar's son just dies right away, because he was like a pretty big part of Dawn, and there was maybe more that we could have seen from him, and then it's like, oh, he's gone 10 minutes in the movie.
So was the wife.
Yeah, but but Caesar's kid, like, I forget his name, Blue Eyes maybe, something like that. He had like a pretty interesting story in the Dawn, so maybe would have liked to see where that went, but he was just gone.
Yeah, I mean, the mother's there so the son can be there.
Yeah,
honestly.
And I did like, one of my favorite moments was when they followed Bad Ape on the horses, and then they followed him to that like old building that was like all snowed on the inside. Yeah, the ski lodge. I just thought that was a really cool set. And it was a good introduction to the character too, who you thought was a human at first. So what did you think overall of Woody Harrelson's Colonel, the villain of the movie?
I liked him. I think Woody Harrelson played the role very well. I think in general he could have had more. If that makes sense. Like, a lot of the movie was him talking. Like, you never actually see him until Caesar sees him.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I definitely think he was a very evil character, but it kind of, like, it understands his motivations. And he's humanized a little bit towards the end. But still, I like his... Basically, he's just so opposite of Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I like. Like, he's a very good adversary for him, just because they not only do they just disagree that like apes and human can be peace, they just have a different look on it entirely. Caesar goes emotional. He doesn't think so. He just thinks simply by evolutionary standards, the apes have to die, the humans die, and Caesar wants them to coexist.
Yeah, and it's good, I think, from a certain point that we get a true villainous human character, because we haven't really had that. That is a benefit in some aspects, and it's also not a good addition in others, because it makes it more black and white, where you're definitely rooting for the apes in this movie, whereas in the others there was heroes on both sides. But I think he plays it really well, and I think that it's an interesting character who sort of draws these like fanatics in all of his like followers, and like their like creed of like Alpha and Omega, like they were the beginning of these apes, but they're going to be the end of them too. So that is pretty cool to watch, but at the same time, it's kind of black and white, where the others were not so much that way. What do you think of some of the aspects of the story, like with the virus that turns humans primal, and then like the war amongst humans, where like Woody Harrelson's core against the rest of the humans?
My issue with that is, technically, shouldn't all of the apes carry the disease? Like, even if it's mutated, they still have it. And it still spreads through apes. Like,
Yeah.
it's the symbiont flu.
They didn't really focus on explaining it that much. They just kind of said, like,
Yeah,
this
but, like,
happens.
it's just like, the doll gives Woody Harrelson, but he's around apes, and so are all of his men.
Yeah.
So shouldn't they all technically be sick? That part didn't make much sense to me. And, like it's a symbiont flu, but only humans can spread it to humans. That didn't make much sense to me. I liked how it was. I mean, it kind of like brought the sickness back into it, I guess, because it wasn't really a part of Dawn at all. Those people were just immune. So, the war, it was so. I found the movie to be misadvertised. Not bad, just very different from what I expected. Just because there was essentially two fight scenes between apes, and one is just Caesar.
Yeah,
and then
pretty much.
all the other apes just run away, and then humans fight humans, and that's basically most of the action in the movie.
And that all happens in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, aside from the very beginning.
Yeah. And I also thought it was unnecessary where, like, the avalanche comes and kills all the humans at the end. Like, why did that need to happen?
I like that the humans didn't even shoot Caesar.
Yeah.
Like, it sounded like it was possible, like, things were looking up, like, nobody was shooting him, like, it wasn't going to be that bad. Then only the apes were left.
The apes have to triumph, so here comes the avalanche, and they're all gone. But, you know, I think it was interesting how they thought that it was completely necessary to kill anyone with this virus, and that's why there was this war, and maybe that conflict has occurred in other parts of the world, and that's why apes eventually are the ruling faction. But it was an unexpected part of the story, but I think it sort of worked to drive the story. You talk about how there's not a lot of war sequences. What was a better name for this movie, if you could come up with one? I would say it's like Enslavement on the Planet of the Apes, or almost like Revenge on the Planet of the Apes, because like sort of a revenge story from Caesar's perspective, because he's going to get revenge for his family.
My appropriate title would probably be War for the Planet for the Apes, because essentially the humans fight each other, the apes don't do much, and then the apes win.
Yeah, pretty much. Not a fitting title, but I'm sure it got people into the theaters.
Yeah.
Because it did beat Spider-Man its opening weekend. It got number 1. So we talked a little bit about Bad Ape, but did you think that he was good comic relief? Because for me, I didn't think he was really that funny, but it was like a good lighthearted addition to a very bleak movie at times.
Yeah, he had like funny moments. Like, I don't know, like when he kept taking the thing from the girl, he's like, no, like just in the middle of talking. I thought that was pretty funny. Other than that, like, I mean, it wasn't a character you were ever like, oh, now I gotta listen to this again. Mm-hmm. Like, you liked the character. So.
And last thing before we get to like some final thoughts, did you think that Caesar needed to die? Because I thought that it was kind of poetic how it was like his own need for revenge was ultimately what got him killed. But at the same time, it's like I didn't think that was completely necessary in the story. What did you think?
Yeah, I think that this essentially destroyed what they built from the character in the first 2 movies, because it was him being better than that, and then in the end he does end up somewhat better than it, but it kills him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought it was uncharacteristic of the Caesar.
Yeah, I kind of agree, because like he
like
that was Koba in Dawn, and he says like I am like Koba. Well, it's kind of like
you've been the first 2 movies are all about how you weren't like Koba.
Yeah, and it does make sense that after everything the humans have put him through, that eventually he would seek some sort of revenge. But you know, that's not where we wanted to see this character go, and it didn't have to be so dark like that. I didn't think, because you know, I'd be okay with he goes for revenge and then learns from his mistake, and when they all leave at the end, he goes with them, and then we see what happens to Woody Harrelson's faction after he goes mad. But I just thought that he didn't really learn from his mistake, and I don't know. I didn't think that he needed to die.
Yeah, here's also my thing. I don't know why they considered it primal. Why they thought the sickness would make them primal, because it literally just took away talking.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it got worse like after time.
No, although the girl had the same amount of brain function the entire movie.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, like, I understand, like, casting him out, which means, like, no, you need to die because you can't talk.
You're right.
Seems a little ridiculous.
So, what other things do you think it did like better or worse than Rise and Dawn?
I think that Dawn is the best movie. So, I don't think it did a whole lot better than Dawn. Rise was just, I found Rise was more of a sci-fi movie rather than like these movies were drama / action. They didn't really focus on the science fiction of it as much.
The only really like science fiction thing was like the virus, and then obviously just the fact that it's apes. But
yeah,
they didn't really play with a lot of themes of science fiction in this one. I think for me it's my least favorite because I do like to see them play with themes of science fiction, and I also just thought that it was not where I would have wanted to see Caesar end. But I still did personally really enjoy it. Was there anything else you thought they could have done better that we haven't addressed yet?
Yeah, I would have liked more fights between the apes and the humans, because like it could have at least like in the intro shown something, because like it talks about how the apes and the humans are battling a bunch, and then it has one fight between apes and humans, like an actual like war between them, like an actual battle. There's only one throughout the entire movie.
Yep.
And it's in the first 10 minutes.
And I also thought that the guards were idiots, the human guards. Because they just let them all escape pretty much.
How does every single ape leave the facility with no one noticing? There is no explanation.
How does that happen? That was definitely a fault. Alright, well, I'm going to give it a score out of 10, and you can give your score. I'm going to go 7.4 out of 10.
So I'll go with an 8. I enjoyed it. It was good.
So that's our review of War for the Planet of the Apes. Did you see it? Did you like it? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks, Grant, for coming out to review this. I'm glad to have you, as always.
No problem. It was good talking about it.
And next week we will review Dunkirk and talk about all the Comic-Con news, so be sure to come back next week. Thanks for watching.